If you're thinking about moving to Bonney Lake, Washington, here are a couple of pros and cons that you need to keep in mind before you make your move. You might be surprised to hear some of the cons I have on my list that you might not have heard elsewhere. Bonney Lake is an adorable little town situated just south of Lake Tapps, Washington, and is a really neat place for a suburb feel, newer homes, and still modern amenities while having a little bit further away from the city and being able to enjoy a little bit more of the country feel that's out here. If you have young kids, one of the things that might be important to you is looking at school ratings and crime ratings, and Bonney Lake has both high school ratings and low crime ratings. So definitely want you to look into that yourself just to see the actual numbers. But we found that those ratings were much better than some of the other local cities. And that was a huge pull and a huge pro for us when we were considering moving to the area. A couple pros that we have going on for Bonney Lake is there are some really amazing new construction and newer homes in the area. The city itself really started growing not too long ago, and so we're seeing a lot of newer homes and tons of those still being newly built, which allow you to have features that you just can't get in other places. We also have a really nice range of some homes with views of both the valley as well as the mountain and some water view as well. If you have questions about Washington real estate, feel free to leave me a comment or grab some of the links below because I have a ton of resources for you. I'm Larissa, I'm a local realtor in Washington, and I would love to be your resource. Another pro for Bonney Lake is that it is overwhelmingly quiet at nighttime. Now, I came from the valley and there were sirens every single night, all the time, airplane noise, all the stuff. And what we find in Bonney Lake is it is just very, very quiet. We can see the stars every single night, and it is just an overall nice place to be without having a ton of hustle and bustle of the city. So that's a huge pro going for it. We're getting modern amenities, we're getting modern homes, and yet we're getting the quietness of a more rural type community. There's also plenty of shopping in the area. So if you are wanting somewhere where you can be within 10 minutes of a grocery store, Bonney Lake's got you covered. You have access to grocery, you have access to some shopping. I will say as maybe a con on the list though, is you do not have access to like mall shopping. For that, you would have to go down to Puyallup or maybe even Auburn. But you don't really have like a mall that's close by. Now on to the cons, because these are super important when you are considering an area to move into. You need to know what some of the downsides are. One of the biggest drawbacks that I personally have experienced in Bonney Lake is the lack of entertainment. There's not really a lot to do around here. There's a couple bars, there's a couple restaurants, but there's no really major entertainment. We do have a movie theater that I personally have never even been to, and for the longest time was shut down with COVID, but we don't have major events going on. We don't have a casino in the area. We don't have things to go and experience, and you really have to leave the area to do that. Going out to either Enumclaw to go on Cole Street, or going over to the White River Amphitheater or down to Puyallup for casinos. But really to stay in Bonney Lake, you're not gonna get walkable or relatively short driving distance to entertainment and family entertainment. That's been one of the biggest downsides that I've personally experienced, because anytime we want to go do something as a family, we have to drive 20 plus minutes at least to go do it. And so if you are a family or if you are somebody who is looking for entertainment near where you live, Bonney Lake might not be the best option for you. There's convenience with grocery, but there's not convenience with entertainment. The other thing that is a huge downside to Bonney Lake is the price of homes in this area have really skyrocketed in the last little while. So before you used to see Bonney Lake was on the map, there was this little tiny town and the home prices were really good, and now it's kind of skyrocketed. And so an entry-level home in this area can be $700,000, and that is a lot relative to we're seeing like Ording and Auburn where entry-level homes are just right at $500,000. So that is one thing to keep in mind with Bonney Lake, is that your price for housing in this area is going to be quite a bit higher if you're looking for that newer home. Now, there is a section of Bonney Lake that does have lower priced homes. We're seeing a lot of manufactured homes in that area, or homes where a manufactured home was demolished and a newer built home was put on the same lot, but your neighbors are manufactured homes. So that is a part of Bonney Lake that is still a huge section. That area is being developed out quite quickly, and there are opportunities to grab some land there and to grab a property there and still have the amenities that Bonney Lake offers while keeping the budget in check. That brings me on to my next con. For anybody who has to commute out of the area and wants to keep their commute short, probably not the best option. If you go out towards Enumclaw, the east side, you're going to get crazy traffic going that way. However, the commute coming up 410 in the evening is not as bad as people made it sound. I've taken the commute enough times to know that the hype around, oh my gosh, the traffic's so bad coming up 410, is way overhyped. First of all, because you can drive off of 410 right at the beginning. You don't have to go down it to get into Bonney Lake. You can go up and around the lake or up and around like Kelly Farms area. But also that stint of road is relatively short compared to some other commutes. If you're familiar with commuting like around Tacoma or around Fife, that is a stop and go traffic situation, whereas the one going into Bonney Lake is really not that bad. So I would say if you have to commute in and out of Seattle, yes, you are going to have a harder time doing that. And there's really only one way in and out of Bonney Lake. However, it's not so bad on the list that if you need to commute once in a while, you're going to be fine. Just allow for an extra 15 minutes. Overall, Bonney Lake is a fantastic area to move to if you are thinking about moving down a little bit further south, if you don't rely on commuting up to Seattle or to Tacoma every single day, and if you're wanting a newer, nicer suburb feel, Bonney Lake is the spot for you. If you have more questions about Bonney Lake or homes that are for sale in this area, check out my links below. I have a ton of resources for you, as well as setting up free customized searches to look at homes in Bonney Lake, Washington. And if you have more questions about what cities I'm going to review next, take a look at some of my other videos or leave a comment below if you don't see the city you're looking for, and I'm happy to create a pros and cons list for that one.